My name is Christina, a 34-year-old housemaker. I live with Robert, who's the same age as me, and our second-grade daughter, Emma. After my father-in-law passed away from an illness several years ago, my mother-in-law Samantha is living alone. We moved to a place near her home 3 years ago, as Robert was worried about her. At that time, I only thought of the convenience in terms of proximity to our parents. However, I currently have two major concerns. First is Robert's recurring infidelity. Robert can't say no when approached, and he's quite prone to getting distracted by other women. This was an issue even when we were dating, but at the time of his proposal, he swore to only have eyes for me from then on. Perhaps it was my fault for choosing him, but I did believe in him at that time. Yet, nothing changed after we got married. Most of it wasn't direct, like messaging, but there was a time when we nearly faced a divorce because of a serious confrontation. At that time, Robert seemed genuinely remorseful, and I still loved him and considering our then young daughter Emma's well-being. I chose to stay and rebuild our relationship. But every time I see Robert glued to his smartphone, I can't help but suspect he's still in touch with someone else. The second issue is Samantha, who lives nearby. Ever since we moved here, she had a habit of dropping by unannounced and often leaves after making snide remarks. At first, I tried to be understanding, thinking she was just lonely, but her behavior has escalated over time. It was too late by the time I realized how unreasonable she could be. She wreaks havoc as she pleases, ruining ingredients I've prepared or even complaining about the contents of my neatly tied garbage bags. When I bring up these complaints, Robert just laughs them off, making it impossible to have a serious conversation. Moreover, Samantha always interjects in our fights. It seems Robert runs to her after every argument to rally her on his side. During a heated argument in the past caused by Robert's infidelity, Samantha took his side, saying, "Well, of course he wouldn't want to come back to a wife who's always angry like you." I was dumbfounded. Whenever she attacks me, she never fails to say, "If only you could have had a boy," an utterly outdated comment. No, that's totally irrelevant right now, isn't it? Each time, I can't help but make this retort in my mind. Originally, the family of in-laws is just an ordinary household, not one of those grand lineages that would necessitate an heir. Dealing with a philandering, mama's boy husband and a son-obsessed, daughter-in-law tormenting Emil is a daily struggle for me. In the midst of these troubles, Emma's smile remains my only ray of hope. I've considered divorce numerous times, but as a housemaker without a job, I have financial concerns. Thinking about Emma's future growth, I don't want her to experience any hardships. Most importantly, I couldn't bear the thought of taking her beloved father away from her. Which is why I couldn't bring myself to initiate a divorce. Today, she showed me a portrait I supposedly drew in class. In the picture, I was holding hands and laughing with her. It seems that at some point, she's become quite skilled at drawing. Feeling Emma's growth, I smiled. I can keep going because she is here. When I said thank you and patted her head, Emma smiled shyly, clearly delighted. One day, just like any other day after sending Robert and my daughter, Emma, off to work and school respectively, I was doing house chores when I received a call from Samantha. She said she needed me to come to her house immediately. "Wouldn't it be nice if you could come over as usual?" By this time, I had developed some resistance to Samantha's unreasonable demands and could talk back a bit. "Well, calling an old woman like me over. What a cold-hearted daughter-in-law you are," she exclaimed, predictably making a big fuss. Although I expected it, she raised her voice dramatically. I sighed. Looking outside the window, the sky was overcast, looking like it might rain at any moment. All right. I'll head over in a bit," I said nonchalantly before hanging up the phone. I had no idea what the matter was. But I could easily guess it was the usual chores like changing a light bulb or cleaning the shower room instead of her. I stopped folding the laundry, changed into something more comfortable, and headed to her place. Upon arriving at her house, I was greeted her saying, "You're late." However, she seemed to be in a surprisingly good mood subtly. "Huh? Samantha, don't you have a guest over?" I tilted my head as I noticed the leather shoes and pumps lined up at the entrance. "Yes, there's someone I wanted you to meet." Increasingly puzzled, I followed Samantha into the living room, where I found Robert, who was supposed to have gone to work. And an unfamiliar woman. Moreover, the woman's belly was noticeably swollen. "Well, sit down." Urged by Samantha, I took a seat. "Weren't you supposed to be at work?" Without directly addressing the woman, I questioned, and Robert, looking sheepish, scratched his cheek. "I took a day off. There was something I needed to tell you today, and I asked Mom for help." "Is it about that woman?" As I glanced over, the woman chewing orange contentedly. In contrast, Robert turned pale, trembled, and deeply apologized. "I got her pregnant. The baby is due in 3 months. She wants to keep it. So, I want a divorce." I had a rough idea just by looking at the woman's belly. "I couldn't bring myself to tell you." As time went by, her belly just kept growing. Hearing him pathetically apologize and request a divorce, I let out a heavy sigh. What's the point of that apology? It's an apology meant to serve his own needs. Knowing that, I couldn't hold back my overwhelming sadness. "Didn't you think about Emma? What were you thinking when you interacted with Emma while having an affair?" These were the words I had said to Robert during a previous affair. "That's... I told you, if you ever feel tempted again, think of Emma, not me." Robert adored Emma. Despite my tearful pleas that cheating hurts not just me but our beloved daughter, it seems to haven't changed anything. It wasn't a moment of madness, it was serious. A calm voice interrupted the conversation between me and Robert. The other woman, looking at us with a serene smile, said, "Robert always said I was his number one, even more than his wife and daughter. That's why, as a proof of our love, I was able to conceive a boy. Just as Samantha wanted." She smiled. And then, while saying, "That's right, isn't it?" she rubbed her belly. Her brazenness was so shocking that I went beyond anger to disbelief. How could she say such a thing in this situation? Then Samantha spoke up. "Well, unlike you, Olivia is young, gentle, and kind-hearted. I'm all for your divorce. It seems the affair partner's name is Olivia. A kind-hearted woman wouldn't get pregnant by a married man." My murmured comment seemed to offend Samantha, who glared at me sharply. "Enough from you. You're no longer needed. A wife who can only bear daughters should just get a divorce and leave." With a shooing motion, Samantha yelled at me. Robert wouldn't meet my eyes, and Olivia wore a triumphant smile, caressing her belly. "I understand we're getting a divorce. I'll take care of Emma." Feeling pushed out, I rushed out of Samantha's house. As expected, it had started to rain outside. I had brought an umbrella, but I left it at the entrance of the Samantha's house. It was my favorite one. But that no longer mattered. With a dry laugh, I trudged through the rain towards home. The divorce proceeded unemotionally, and before I knew it, 3 months had passed. Robert was reluctant to be separated from Emma. But he seemed to understand the gravity of his actions and eventually agreed to my demands for child support. He managed to arrange it by selling our apartment. Although I was mentally and physically exhausted, the process was quicker than expected, thanks to the lawyer my father introduced me to. My main concern was for Emma's well-being, but she has continued to smile and interact with me even after the divorce. She must be putting on a brave face for my sake. For now, we're staying at my parents' house, and she's continuing to attend the same elementary school. But we may have to consider moving depending on where we find a new home and my job situation. She seems to understand that, but I know she feels differently deep down. There's nothing sadder than seeing a child suffer because of their parents' selfishness. To ensure Emma wouldn't feel lonely, I spent my days searching for a new home and job within her school district. It was during this time that I received a call from Robert. We had kept in touch due to matters related to child support. Thinking I would hang up depending on what he wanted, I answered the call. Right off the bat, he was in a panic, saying something about the skin color of the baby is. Taken aback by this sudden topic, I responded, "We agreed you wouldn't contact me unless it was about child support or something necessary." Trying to remain calm, I countered his statement. "It's not about that. I've been deceived." Though I could have hung up, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to listen. "The baby isn't mine." To summarize, Olivia had safely given birth recently, but the baby had features clearly not from Robert or Olivia's families, leading Robert to insist on a DNA test. It turned out the baby was indeed a boy, as they had said. Having heard that Robert had married Olivia right after our divorce, I struggled to suppress a laugh. Olivia was seeing several men, including a foreigner, besides me. Can you believe it? He was expressing his anger as though he was the victim. He continued, "This is cuckoldry." When I said I'd sue, she told me she chose me because I seemed the wealthiest. It's just too much. Neither Robert, Samantha, nor Olivia herself could have anticipated this turn of events. All I could feel was schadenfreude. "Really, you're saying that?" At my words, he seemed surprised and said, "What?" I received a wry smile from me. Did he expect me to console him? Cheaters deserve each other. It doesn't matter if the skin color is different. It's the boy your dear mother wanted, after all. My words clearly unsettled him. But, you see, I'm planning to leave Olivia. I was hoping we could get back together." His stammering plea for reconciliation made me want to pull my hair out. Mom said it was the best thing to do. His unnecessary addition infuriated me even more. "Please, enjoy your life with your like-minded new wife, your precious mother, and the cute baby that belongs to someone else." I spat out these words and hung up. I immediately turned off my phone too. This call confirmed the birth of the baby. However, the words about reconciliation from Robert made me uneasy. I had been searching for a home and job in this area to prevent Emma from having to change schools. But now I wondered if it might be better to move somewhere far from Robert and his family. That evening, I was having dinner with Emma and Mother. My father hadn't returned from work yet. Emma was excited to watch TV with Grandpa when he got home, and my mother suggested joining in. Seeing her granddaughter smiling, my mother also looked delighted and said, "Maybe I should join in the fun too." Our peaceful family moment was abruptly interrupted by the sudden ring of the doorbell. Wondering who it could be at this hour, I peered at the screen to find, to my surprise, Robert and Samantha. "Stay here with Grandma for a bit, Emma." I left Emma with my mother and opened the door with the chain still on. At that moment, the door was forcefully pulled, causing a sharp noise to echo. Thankfully, I had kept the chain on. As I was truly glad about the chain, I heard a TSK and saw Samantha peering through. Behind her, Robert stood with a downcast look. "Rob wanted to take you back as his wife, and you refused, huh?" Rob means Robert. It seems Samantha has been calling him that since he was a child. You don't realize how kind Rob is, thinking you, with a child, would have no chance of remarrying? It's none of your business. You have your long-awaited grandson and Olivia. Please get along with them. My words made Samantha flush with anger. If I had known she was like that, I would have put up with you. Pushing aside Samantha, my ex-husband then reached his hand through the gap in the front door. "Christina, I truly regret everything. I was deceived too. Let's build a happy family together, just the three of us this time." Robert pleaded tearfully at the door while rattling it, with Samantha shouting emotionally beside him. As I puzzled over what to do in this bizarre situation, an unexpected voice silenced them both. "I hate Daddy and Grandma because you always bully Mommy." Turning around, I saw Emma standing there, tears welling up in her eyes. My mother rushed over from behind her, holding her back from getting too close to the door. My mother was holding her mobile phone. "Dad and the lawyer are on their way here now." It seems that my father was in contact with the lawyer who helped us out. During that time, Emma must have seized the opportunity to come to me. My mother's words brought me a bit of relief. To be honest, I was internally terrified by the ferocity of the two, who looked like they could break the chain and barge in at any moment. "Emma, let's wait with Grandma over there." At my mother's words, she shook her head in refusal, saying, "Emma will protect Mommy. I hate Daddy and Grandma." She was crying her eyes out. I couldn't help but tear up at this sight and held Emma close. Samantha and Robert were just staring at us in shock. Their earlier momentum had vanished, and their faces had lost all vitality. I think Emma's words had an impact. While this was happening, my father and the lawyer arrived, and even a police car showed up. It seems a neighbor must have called them. "Robert, you will never be with my daughter again. If you regret your actions, this is not the way to go about it. Understand?" Following my father, I stood in front of Robert and Samantha. Please don't hurt Emma anymore. I will never meet your demands. I want nothing to do with you ever again, I said. At my and my father's words, Robert and Samantha grimaced, nodded, and quietly got into the police car. The lawyer said, "We will take even stricter measures to ensure this never happens again," offering reassuring words. I thanked the lawyer, who I would be relying on a lot from now on. I heard later that Robert eventually divorced Olivia and sued her. Olivia sought help from the foreign man who was the father of her baby. Though he took the baby, it turned out he was a married man, and his wife turned her away. I sincerely wish for the baby's happiness. Robert and Samantha have become the talk of the neighborhood and are living miserably together. Robert is working like a horse, doing overtime to pay the child support, and he's been good about making the payments. As for us, we've moved to a place with no ties to Robert and his family. I managed to get my job back through connections from my single days, and Emma is making friends and enjoying her new school. I'm looking forward to her growth and am determined to live a strong life.